They don't.
Let's enjoy the show. Bandito. I am Latino. And I am conservative. And we talk about things like politics and religions and society and government. So please subscribe and enjoy the show. The Latino Conservative Podcast. Listen and share with all of your friends. And subscribe to my eyes. The Latino Conservative Podcast. The Latino Conservative.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, this is Andrew Hours, Latino Conservative. Donald Trump was right. Headline of the day is going to be Donald Trump, or I should say Barack Obama, has gone under investigation. Tulsi Gabbard has started an investigation on treason. We've got other stories such as the redistricting midterm of Texas, which I'm kind of questioning about that. And I saw something on TikTok, a story that it actually, after research, it's a little older, but I want to know what's going on with that right now. It's bipartisan. It's a bipartisan bill. And that we've got that and a couple other things going on. But as always, I would like to say that thank you, first of all, for those of y'all who watch this, who share this. Don't forget to do that. Share that. Share it, like it, subscribe, do all those things that you normally do, no matter what platform you are on. A couple sponsored products of the show, because I don't make money doing this. But Peck. I like this Peck product right here. What this is, it looks like a little Zippo. It does. Now think about it. But it's actually an inhaler. We all have those. We've all seen those inhalers. You've seen those single sticks that go into like one nostril. This actually goes into both of them. This particular one is coffee scented. It's really potent. In fact, I can smell it right here. But what it is you put it in your nose, you inhale, and it's got this mentholatum off of the eucalyptus leaves. Gives you a great shot of energy. I think these are great. I can't drive anymore because I'm legally blind, but I think these are great for those of you who travel, who drive. And if you find yourself dozing off, first of all, please find a place to pull over. Or if you just need a quick shot of energy, if you're doing some work, quick focus, great little tool. They're really cheap too. You get these on Amazon, and the other product I have, going to show you that later on in the links below. I've got a couple big links there that you can click on. But let's get into it. You kind of just, if this is your first time watching, the way I do this, the way I operate is I have the links set up on another screen. In fact, you might be able to see it right there. But since I am visually impaired, I use a screen reader. I use 11 Labs that'll actually read the screen for me. And we use that to kind of start a discussion about what's going on. So first story here. This is from Politico. So here we go. Now, Politico, just so you know, is a little bit of a left-leaning publication.
Baseless accusations of treason are unfortunately par for the course for this director of national intelligence. But that doesn't make them any less damaging and unacceptable, Himes said. The IC leaders in 2016 understood that they took an oath to the Constitution, not President Trump. I wish Director Gabbard could say the same. Himes pointed to a report produced by the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee during the first Trump administration, which is regarded to be the most thorough, publicly available account of Moscow's attempts to sway the election and the Trump campaign's contacts with Russian officials. The committee's 3-year investigation concluded that the Kremlin waged an aggressive effort to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. While it found that the Trump campaign team's contacts with Russian officials presented a grave counterintelligence threat, the bipartisan committee report did not reach a conclusion either way as to whether the president's allies had knowingly colluded with Moscow to boost his chances in the polls. The report was endorsed at the time by
So a lot of stuff going on there. Donald Trump said it from the beginning. He has the tendency to say, Russia, Russia, Russia. He he's a great guy at marketing and just speaking in general. Probably one of the better presidents out there because that's his job. That's what he's done. He's a salesperson. He's a closer. ABC always be closing. That's just Donald Trump. But he said it for how long now? Since the first elections that that they were teaming up against him. Now, the allegation is basically saying that Barack Obama and his administration, or directed his administration to fabricate these allegations and fabricate evidence. That in itself is a crime. You can go to jail for that. They call that perjury if you are a person doing that. If you're on the witness stand and you lie under oath, that's perjury. But you have stuff like the Steele dossier they came out, the Russia collusion hoax, the one that I think even Hillary Clinton was griping about it at one point in time. But what is treason, though? The politicos, like I said, it's the left leaning, and they're talking about baseless accusations. But the right is saying that it's treasonous, and personally, I think it is. I really think it is, because you've got a person here, no matter what office they held or are holding, if they are committing a crime to overturn the current government, that's being a traitor. That's being treason. Donald Trump won the 2016 elections fair and square. In fact, unexpectedly. I don't think the Democrats expected him to win back then. I don't think they expected him to even win the nomination. He was running against Ted Cruz was one of the candidates in the primary elections. A couple other people there, but when he came out and actually won, the primary elections, I can just see, I could just feel what the hell happened here? We've got to get ahead of this. From what the Democrats are saying, we got to get ahead of this. We got to do something. We got to make sure he doesn't win. But lo and behold, he still won. But the fact that you've got a former president that was actually at that point in time, he was the current president, because the elections were going on during his term. They were going on. So he had his staff fabricate the evidence. Yeah, that's no bueno. But what's going to happen to that if he is found guilty? You remember a few years ago, Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felonies. Now, those felonies were the exact same charge 34 times. New York basically created a law so they can charge him. They upgraded it from a misdemeanor to a felony without any real underlying felonious crime. Now, in New York, you have to have a felonious crime to upgrade a misdemeanor to that felony. But they didn't have that felonious crime, that felony. All they had was a misdemeanor, and they said, hey, you know what? We think we want to do this, so we're going to do this because we don't like Trump. TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. So what's going to happen to Barack Obama if he's found guilty? Will he actually serve jail time? I don't know. I really and truly don't know, because when you think about it, he still has a Secret Service team around him. Will they let him serve time? What happens? Does the FBI go in, barge in his house at 3:00 in the morning and arrest him? Or is it more of a negotiated arrest? Is he given house arrest, which, with his houses, it's pretty luxurious. Now, do you remember what they did to Donald Trump? They raided his house with the order of basically shoot to kill if it comes down to it. They gave an order to assassinate a former president of the United States. Now, if that's not some deep state crap, I don't know what is. On one hand, you got the FBI saying, shoot this guy. And then on the other hand, you've got, I don't know how they're going to do it with Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. What's going to happen then? The FBI in Chicago and in New York, to be honest, are really left wing. Those branches there, they're really, really left wing. That whole town, those whole cities and states are really left wing. So are they going to actually do anything? But I think if there is an arrest, and some federal judge on the uh, small level federal judge that has a small district like in Washington, D.C., try to overturn it, or the ACLU is going to try to come and create a class, protected class that is like maybe called the Obamas. We can't do anything about the Obamas anymore, or the Bidens, or any past Democratic left leaning president. They might create that class to protect them, but I don't think there's going to be anything done. Truthfully, my honest opinion is I don't think there's going to be anything done. I personally think, my honest opinion, far be it from me from having an opinion. I come on here and talk about opinionated stuff. I think this is a ploy to attempt to cover up the Epstein blunder. Yeah, that one that Pam Bondi just kind of totally messed up, botched the release of the files, or the intentional hiding of the files because of whoever we're trying to protect for whatever political reason. I don't know. But I think they're trying to move away from this because you haven't seen this story here that I'm talking about right now. You haven't seen it on a lot of media outlets. They're not. They put it out there once and then they've gone away from it. This hasn't hit the news cycles. But the Epstein files are still there. Why? Why not move on? I don't think that there's any prominent Republicans on there on the list. I don't think Donald Trump's on that list because if he was, those files would have been released years ago. It's just my opinion again. And I think this is just another attempt to hide those files because somebody's on there, somebody's being hidden, somebody's being protected, maybe a foreign dignitary. I think it has to do with foreign dignitaries, people not in the United States, maybe someone from the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Great Britain, England, somewhere around there. That's just my thoughts. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Don't forget, I'm going to say it again. Like, share, subscribe. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. Now, if you're chatting, feel free to chat. I can't see it though. So have an engagement with those that are in the chat. I can't see it though because I'm visually impaired. I prep all of this. I do all of this as best I can to address any issues that I see coming up. But any chats that are left, I really do appreciate it. It helps the algorithm get out there. I just can't see them real time, and I don't have a live producer to actually go read this. I do this by myself. I'm unpaid. It's totally just me being active in the community, making sure our voices are heard. So let's get to the next topic here, and give me just a second to let me change the screens. Okay, so let me try this now. Hopefully I've got the right story pulled up. Now, what I'm looking at here is just I'm looking at splotches, and I'm trying to remember where I put each one of these splotches, each one of these stories. So let me double check it's the right story. It should be the Texas midterm redistricting. I think that's what this is.
Sign up for the brief, the Texas Tribune's daily newsletter that keeps readers up to speed on the most essential Texas news. Texas Democrats in Congress sharply criticized President Donald Trump's plan to redraw their state's political map in the middle of the decade, labeling it a threat to democracy and warning their GOP counterparts that an aggressive gerrymander could come back to haunt them. The Republican-controlled Texas legislature is poised to consider a new set of congressional maps during a special session that kicks off next week. With their party locked out of power in Austin, Democrats from the state's congressional delegation said they expect the new districts to continue Texas history of violating the Federal Voting Rights Act by diluting the votes of racial minorities. The scheme of the Republicans has consistently been to make sure that they mute our voices so that they can go ahead and have an oversized say in this. Rep. Jasmine Crockett, D. Dallas, said at a news conference with House Democratic leadership and most Texas Democrats. So I fully anticipate that's exactly where they're going with this map.
Okay. So again, some leftists' opinion on that, and I like to look at both sides. To be honest, I'm conservative. Don't get me wrong, I am very conservative, but I like to see what the left is saying, see their point of view, because I hate to say, but they're important too. But either way, I'm not sure if I'm up for this. Our normal redistricting template, so to say, has been every 10 years with the census. And I don't think there's a reason at all for us to do mid-term or mid-decade redistricting. There's a couple arguments on this. You could say with the influx of population that we've had, people moving in from California, from New York or wherever, the biggest areas that have been redistricted or that have had a population increase have been Austin, which is already very left, and that's Austin. So, we call that Little San Francisco. Houston, also very Democrat, and Dallas, basically the three big cities, the three biggest cities. Some could say San Antonio, Corpus, but, they're actually kind of middle. There's a big conservative Republican activism movement in those cities. Austin, very liberal, very socialist. Houston, it can actually go both ways, even though they've got a big Democrat party there. But, you look all around Houston, you go to Katy, you go to Conroe, you go to Livingston, Clear Lake, all the areas around Houston, they're actually pretty dang conservative. The town that I lived in for quite some time, Alvin, Texas, is led by a Republican congressman, Congressman Troy Nehls. Right next to it, when you get right to the heart of Houston, Al Green, which my feelings on Al Green by now. If you don't, I'll explain it later on. But I'm still not sure if I really like this, because there was something that they mentioned in there, that a midterm or mid-decade district change could come to bite us in the rear. That is one of the biggest things in politics that I see. We pass laws, we pass legislation, and it biting us because the Democrats use it against us. Now, does that mean that it shouldn't happen? No. Does that mean that we need to stop passing legislation like that? No. I'm saying is that we need to be careful on that. We need to be very careful, because it can. The whole, silencing our right to vote and all that blah, blah, blah. Oh, shut the hell up. That is narrative at its finest there. The left is always trying to create a narrative, use buzzwords to get people riled up, and they're good at it. I really wish conservatives and Republicans would do more of that for our side, because they have a great get out the vote rally cry anytime something like that happens. The ACLU, great example. What is it? The American Civil Liberties Union is what they're called. Very left. ACLU, you heard me last week talking about how they created a class of people that, hold on, my 11 Labs here was kind of going off, how they created a class of people inadvertently to protect the lives of those that are not born yet. They took a pro-life stance inadvertently when they tried to fight Donald Trump's executive order on the 14th Amendment. So, but, silencing our voices, violating our rights, no. Because what'll happen is, if it is truly a violation of rights, it'll be legislated. It'll be I'm talking about through the House or through the Senate or anything like that. I'm talking about it'll go to court. somebody will file a suit, and then it'll go through the step. It'll go through the district courts, the federal courts, and then the Supreme Court ultimately. But redistricting in the middle of the year, in the middle of the decade, I don't know. Now there is a special session that actually just started today, the 21st. I think today's my days are mixed up, but it started on the 21st. There's more important issues, though, I think, other than this. Anytime there is redistricting, I feel like it is done specifically to gerrymander. Both sides, both parties do it. And if you disagree, I will disagree with you right back. Look at Highway 6 in Houston. Prime example. If there was no such thing as gerrymandering, I would not be able to drive through through different districts on the same street multiple times while driving one way and then a different way, go through different districts. You know, that Highway 6 kind of goes through the southern part of Houston, and I swear I cross through I go into one district and I get out of it, go into that same district again later on, then go to a totally different district, and then back to the original district that I was in. Yeah, that is gerrymandering at its finest. I personally think districts should be on street borders, not necessarily by population, but by street borders. And when I say population, that's because they say, well, we got more Republicans over here, so let's draw this line over here, carry the 2, so divided by a 5, and that's where our line is going to be. I wonder what AI would make the districts look like. That'd be a good thing to do. In fact, I think I might do that later on. Look at AI to see what's going on. Now, the next topic I'm going to talk about is going to be healthcare related. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Make sure I have the right one. So this is about a bill. Now, I just saw this going through on TikTok, and it caught my attention because I was personally affected by this a lot. Like, that's part of why I can't see very well. Part of why I almost didn't make it out of the hospital about a year ago. Let me make sure I've got the right screen going. Okay, I think I got it now. So we're going to share the screen here. And then I'm going to hit play on my audio.
This audio is auto-generated. Please let us know if you have feedback. A bipartisan group of legislators is seeking to break up pharmacy benefit managers by forcing them to sell pharmacy businesses, in what experts described as Congress's most radical attempt to reform the controversial drug middlemen to date. On Wednesday sends Elizabeth Warren, DMAS, and Josh Hawley, RMO, introduced a bill in the Senate that would require healthcare companies that own health insurers or PBMs to sell pharmacy assets within 3 years. A companion bill was also introduced in the House. The legislation, if passed, would be a massive shakeup for the U.S. pharmacy supply chain, cutting off revenue and market power for PBM giants and the conglomerates that own them. Forcing PBMs to offload owned pharmacies would also directly benefit independent pharmacies, which accuse PBMs of paying them less than in-house businesses for dispensing medication and directing patients away from their doors. Its impact on patients is less evident, according to experts. It's very
Okay, so PBMs. Basically, what this is for layman's, it's prescription benefit management. So, prime example, because this is the one that affected me, CVS Caremark. Now, we all know CVS. They've got the pharmacies out there that you can go to. I go to CVS because that's who my company uses. And the company that I'm on a basically permanent long-term disability with, not because of my company. My company is great. I'm not even gonna say the name of them because I don't want to disparage them in any sort of way at all. It's a great company to work for if you ever get the chance to work for them. But CVS Caremark, they are more than just a pharmacy. They provide pharmacy benefits, pharmaceutical benefits, and they own Aetna. Now, a lot of us know Aetna because they are the actual benefits. The people that you go to because you think that they are the insurance company. Well, that's just the shell company, for lack of better terms. Aetna is a subsidiary of CVS Caremark. CVS owns Aetna. Okay, so I've said that. I was running for Congress against Al Green. I was doing good. I was actually getting really healthy. And I completed a 50-mile ruck for, it was called what's it called? Uh, Basically, to stop soldier suicide. I completed a 50-mile ruck for that. I was working out 2 or 3 times a day. I was actually getting some nice muscle tones and, getting healthy because I've been diabetic for over 20 years since I was diagnosed, I should say. Then October of 2022, I want to say, I found a medicine called Manjaro. Great medicine, absolutely worked wonders for me. It was the only medicine that truly worked. I've been on metformin for years, and it does nothing other than just manages my sugar just a little bit. Enough to keep me, out of the red, but not enough to keep me good. When I say keep me out of the red, I could still eat something and then spike right up. It wasn't necessarily something to keep me very. Basically, my A1C was still at about a 9 to 10 with metformin. I tried Ozempic, did not work. Tried Trulicity, did not work. Tried something else, and I forget all the name. I've tried a bunch of stuff. And nothing worked like Manjaro did. I got those medications approved through by my insurance company, Aetna, who was CVS Caremark. And they were operating in the background because CVS Caremark owned them. Manjaro got approved October, November, December is when I had that medication. I even had the January dose because I refilled it at the end of December. So 4 months, I was doing good. And I was losing weight, not bad weight either. I was doing good, getting healthy, eating healthy. My blood sugar, my A1C went from a 10, like 10.5, 10.6 or something like that, all the way down to a 6.5 in that 4-month time frame that I did, which was just, man, for someone who's lived with diabetes and fought with diabetes, I lost 250 pounds fighting diabetes. For my blood sugar to finally be normalized when everything else didn't work. Oh man, it saved my life. Literally saved my life. Time for a prescription refill comes in February of 2023. Yep, time for that prescription refill. And they go, nuh-uh, nope, no can do. You can't have this anymore. You can, but you got to pay for it yourself. Well, how much does it cost? It is about $1,600 a month for your Manjaro now that saves your life. I'm like, what? My company that is supposed to help me save my life by providing healthcare is now saying that I have to pay $1,600 a month to keep saving my life? What do I do? Well, we can approve it again later on, but you've got to see if these work first because they cost like $200 less than Manjaro. You got to try Ozempic. You've got to try Trulicity and Wegovy. Those are other once a week, and Manjaro is a once a week shot. But I already tried those. You approved those, remember? Yeah, but Manjaro is no longer on the formulary list this year, so we've got to go this other route first. I tried Ozempic again, and just like the first time, it made me get into a real depressed state. I'm talking, it caused actual depression. I am still on 2 antidepressants because of it, and it's been about 2 years now. I had to try those for 6 months, basically, before they would consider approving Manjaro. In that time frame, I kept on campaigning because I was still fighting. I kept campaigning. I got food poisoning at an event, go figure. And I wasn't able to take my medicine anymore. And I stopped taking Ozempic because of the severe depression. I'm talking, I would go walking to try to get rid of this depression, try to get out in nature, to just go walk around the block just to air out my thoughts. And if I passed a tree, I would punch it out of nowhere. Just like hardcore, just all into it punch. So I couldn't take my other medicines anymore. Metformin, I was still taking it, and it was the only thing that was kind of keeping me halfway decent. Still, remember, my A1C was still really high with that. But when I couldn't take my metformin, my liver still said, hey, you got food poisoning, but I'm still producing glucose. So here you go. My blood sugar went up to over about 300 or 400. And I spent 8 weeks in the hospital over that. 8 weeks. Had pulmonary edema, macular edema because of other medicine they gave me while I was in the hospital recovering. I had 2 amputations, not my, 2 toes amputated. The medicine they gave me for nerve pain that was caused from my stay in the hospital, I didn't have it before, but they just gave it to me. And I really didn't have very bad nerve pain, but they just gave me without me asking. I didn't know this was one of the things in the cocktail they gave me. It's called Lyrica. It caused that macular edema, which caused retina separation. I can't see at all out of this eye. It's still there. It might be red right now. It's still there, but I keep the patch on it because I don't want to be outside because I'll sit outside and I don't want to get too bright because the pupils don't dilate or contract on that one anymore. But all of that happened as soon as I got out of the hospital. Yes, you can have Manjaro, $30 a month. I say all of that, go into that long story, because this bill would force CVS to sell Aetna. So Aetna can determine what treatments are appropriate for their patients without worrying about the medications or monopolizing what prescription benefits are for that as well. Or for them as well, I should say. I truly 100% believe that had the two been separated, I would not be in the condition I am right now. I can't work full time. I'm on so many medications now that I can barely stand up for 30 minutes at a time. I tried to start my own business, and technically I still do have my own business. It's out there, but I can't do it alone. I can't go out there and work like I used to. I used to travel the country as well for my job. I was in a different dealership every week training them, and I can't do that now. I can't stand up for more than 30 minutes without getting dizzy, without having to have somebody there with me. This bill, I haven't heard about it. It's been pushed to the side, I believe, because CVS is still the owner of Aetna. And who knows who, I haven't really looked into who owns Blue Cross Blue Shield or anything like that. But I'm sure that if there wasn't that monopoly there, that wouldn't have been that issue. Now, I will say this. I'm all for capitalism. I am. I'm a capitalist myself. But, the Spider-Man quote that Uncle Ben says, with great power comes great responsibility. I think a lot of these companies that are big that can affect millions of people with the signature, I think they need to have a watchdog over them. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. Sorry, that's a long story, but it's something that I had to get off my mind because when I heard this, it hit me right here because that's what happened to me. That is why I am like I am right now. Not because I have been eating unhealthy, because like everybody else, I did have my treats every now and then. I did. I wasn't 100% healthy all the time, but I would meal prep, not bad stuff. I would work out two, 3 times a day sometimes. Even when I was on the road traveling, I bought the Planet Fitness membership that would travel with me. And I could go to any Planet Fitness in the country that I wanted to. And I would wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, come back, get ready for the day, and go to work. I would do that. I really have a medical condition. But, granted, I made the choices to get diabetes. I used to drink a 12-pack of Coke a day. I used to eat half a box of Little Debbie snack cakes. That was my vice. And I try to stay away from them as much as I can because it's like my meth. It's my heroin. So I try to stay away from those as much as I can, but still, I was not eating horribly. I wasn't. But because CVS Caremark said, we're going to arbitrarily take Manjaro off of our formulary list, and you've got to try all of this other stuff first. Again, I am like I am right now. So, what are your thoughts on that again? Drop me a comment. Let me pull up another story real quick. Now, this is one that I'll be quite honest. I'm not going to say I don't care about it because the story is important. But when I was doing my research on the stories to pull up for this episode, I use AI to figure out what stories. AI said to talk about this story, so we're going to talk about it. Here we go.
Top main menu. Research our records. Records related to the assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. President Donald J. Trump signed Executive Order 14176, declassification of records concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. on January 23, 2025. The National Archives' role in fulfilling Executive Order 14176. In accordance with United States law, it is the responsibility of the National Archives to serve as the final repository of the records of the United States federal government and make those records available to the American people. Many of the records related to the assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were previously transferred to the National Archives from federal agencies, but were not available to the public. The National Archives is coordinating with other federal agencies across the executive branch to ensure that any remaining records are identified and transferred to the National Archives as soon as possible. How is the National Archives making these records?
So we're releasing the MLK files. So the files associated with Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination, they're out there. They're going to be out there. Okay. I get it. He's important. I understand that. I'm not trying to diminish his importance at all. But how long ago did that happen? How long ago did the JFK assassination happen? I think those are coming out now because one, people involved with those, they aren't around anymore. Those people aren't alive anymore. But two, again, Epstein. We are trying to hide what happened with the Epstein files release because the government did something with it. And the release was just totally botched. So why come out with them now? I understand people want to talk about that. Want to know about what happened with it. I understand that, but is that the most important thing going on right now? It's not. It's not. It's not. I'm gonna say that it's not right now. We have got wars going on that aren't our wars, but we're involved with. We've got U.S. troops, not the National Guard. I'm talking about troops, actual troops, full-time active duty troops deployed to our own borders because of the threat that's at our borders. We have got so much going on. And we released the MLK files to hide the botched release of the Epstein files. Go figure. What's more important, though? I tell you what's important to me is knowing that no matter anything that's going on, everything that's going on right now, Christ is still the king. God is still the king of the universe. Still is. Now I'm going to drop a nugget for y'all real quick. We all heard how, the story of Wormwood, and I can't quote it right off, but the story's saying that there's going to be a star falling down to the earth that looks like a torch, and it's going to be called Wormwood. So think about this. Did you see any footage of missiles being launched at night? Yeah, they look like stars. The missiles as well, the rockets, if you hold them up, the body itself could look like the stick of the torch, and then the flame at the top is the actual flame of the torch. So that's a torch. But people have associated that with something like an asteroid coming to the earth because it says a great star. But people have associated that as being an asteroid or a comet or a meteor hitting the earth. And it very well may be. I'm not trying to be dogmatic about this at all. But Chernobyl, that nuclear plant that had a meltdown in what's now Ukraine, it used to be the USSR. Chernobyl translates to the English word wormwood. I'll let you dwell on that for a little bit. In closing, the closing product I'd like to talk about are these alpha nootropic pouches. I'm not sure if you saw one sleep one. They go between your lip and your gum. They look like those little Zen pouches that everybody uses, or little snus pouches, but they're not. They have vitamins, minerals, and some caffeine in there. All of the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. This is an apple mint flavor. Great. Tastes great. Again, they're good for cognitive function. I think Joe Biden should have had plenty of these while he was president. Should have, but he didn't, obviously. But alpha nootropic pouches, get those in the link below. Great for energy, great for mental clarity. They help you out a whole lot. I take one of these in the morning when I have my cup of coffee, and I am ready to go. Hey guys, thanks again for letting me rant and rave at you. Don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe button, hit that follow button, the alarm, so you get the notifications when we go live, and we will see you next time.
Let's enjoy the show. Maldito. I am Latino, and I am conservative, and we talk about things like politics and religions and society and government. So please subscribe and enjoy the show. The Latino Conservative Podcast. Listen and share with all of your friends.